Well, we are still on this issue. The Chief Justice in Sensemno, yes. I mean, we have new stories in Ghana today, but an interested Chief Justice in Sensemno, Yerefi. Now, one of the petitioners, Professor Azar, Professor Kweku Azar, or the nsɛm aba betuja wababa betro nsɛm ato social media or you'll be able to try nsɛm to social media. Now I want us to go through what he's saying, okay? And officially he has been confirmed as one of the 3 petitioners on petition His Excellency John Dramani Mahama say yenyi Chief Justice in free. Now yenhwe nsɛm odi tuja or say an independent judiciary must be protected even from within. Okay, or say an independent judiciary is the cornerstone of any constitutional democracy. Its strength lies not just in resisting external pressures from the executive or legislature, but also in maintaining internal integrity and impartiality. Or say ye can judiciary, I will say ye making sure say ye judiciary no ebe independent. And ye judges be as a pressure every president won't know asem no any kwansi ye dini si no akwa dini si. Enye judge bia pressure every MPs bi ho a omo ohwe o support sa MP no ana o support sa party no MPs nti no asem no say ne wose ye ka no wakwa akoka ne say o say judicial independence has both institutional and decisional dimensions. The former safeguards the judiciary's autonomy from other branches of government, while the latter ensures that individual judges can decide cases freely from interference, including from within the judiciary itself. Much public discourse on judicial independence rightly focuses on the dangers of executive overreach. Presidents who dismiss judges, appoint loyalists, or undermine the courts. These are real and present threats rooted in our painful constitutional history. And you see, this is something I have constantly always said. The fact that Yema president kwan say president no ebe to me ye judge, president ebe to me appointing and crop for, and you see the lowest form of all these things we've seen is under President Akufo-Addo, that people were appointed to the Supreme Court not because of their competences, but because President Akufo-Addo promised someone say mema we juma one man nipa ko na ejuma no o say when ye ejuma ne de oba fanebra na memma no ejuma me promoting na we ni nso. That was the lowest form we got to in this country, and it was under President Akufo-Addo, according to Manasseh Azori, the book I will release here under President Akufo-Addo. So here and someone walk the fact say Ghana your constitution yema ho kwan masa nyama ni na esi no e ya ade bia entwa yi. I've said it on countless occasions on this platform. Also, yet an equally corrosive and often overlooked danger comes from within the overreach of a rogue Chief Justice. It is anyama we ni na. At the end of the day, there is a looming danger be every mu eba. Na danger no ne say obekwa akwa konya Chief Justice bia baby a any kwan say ode ne nsem ekọ no de ne nsem nenam ho enyama any kwan say Chief Justice no ye no na wo ye. And so this is a petitioner who is speaking, and he has started and now he's entering into the current Chief Justice enyuma why ye and anyama Chief Justice na ye atre say e ka ho a o petition ye no. I say a Chief Justice can single-handedly imperil the judiciary's independence in several ways. I say Chief Justice on no pe obetumi ayade a ebema the judiciary no or more independence no che I say Chief Justice ne pe single-handedly, okay, single-handedly the Chief Justice ebetumi aye bibi na ade a Chief Justice no be ye ebema the independence of the judiciary no atochima any until obebobodin no. 1. Subverting the judicial appointment process. Or say a Chief Justice who bypasses the constitutional framework and engages in private negotiations with the president to elevate their preferred candidates to the Supreme Court violates the principle of separation of powers. And Osha, Professor Kweku Azar has really been straightforward on this point. Ghana Mratre say, I was a appointed judge be eba Supreme Court. There is a process be I was a so. But this current Chief Justice, no, one of the reasons in a petition His Excellency John Dramani Mahama say, you know, especially Professor Kweku Azar, and they say, Chief Justice na nkasa kokuhu President Akufo-Addo, ekatre President Akufo-Addo say, me pese wo de asumesi obenten asumesi obenten eneba Supreme Court. Which is not right. Because we all know the Chief Justice and how the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, the perception we have about them. And so if today Chief Justice na selected in Crawford yemfambra Supreme Court or dia, not just say ya hweni ye ya at the end of the day no Supreme Court or ye ni beti ye no na Chief Justice ne Crawford nko asemba ono ne de ne say Chief Justice na de ne ba ye nti ne say Chief Justice na asem ye do na asem nye do or kin bia ma Chief Justice no to say ade a Chief Justice betumi aye ama judiciary no atochema eno no so wo ko hia president we chire trend say for asomesi ebra Supreme Court. As a such conduct creates a dangerous quid pro quo that invites executive intrusion into judicial affairs. It also sends a chilling message to other judges. Loyalty to the Chief Justice, not merit, determines advancement. And you see, perfect point he's making here. As a two, one thing they say, most judiciary no has to be independent. But say wo kwakatre president they say, wo no person mesi nti no mfa nembra Supreme Court and atre say wo tre say judiciary no executive ni mbremu. No mo mra mbeye mo adwuma mamo. You are not proving say mo ye independent. Secondly, aside that no, other judges bia because listen, in life every single person wants to go up. Obi a wo appeals court or ye appeals court judge bia no. Opeso okọ nanim because apparently say wo free appeals court now call Supreme Court usika ebedoso upe yebetum ube enjoy certain things what you say ukwa retirement we ni beji nyama bi ho inti obi bia peso tumpon inti say yanhwe ni ye na eba ne say Chief Justice na select here what you are sending the message you are sending to all other judges ne say they should be loyal to the Chief Justice. Inti asemba na Chief Justice na asemi nye dekra wo mo ke bia ma Chief Justice because a Chief Justice na ebe ma president ayeden eden yan ba Supreme Court. And so now instead of having judges with solid minds on their own, no, you have sycophants around the Chief Justice because every single person wants promotion. And you two reasons in Oka say, sa Chief Justice no act our ye no the threats are a heavy on the judiciary no. Or see, this demoralizes the bench, undermines judicial esprit, the corps, and sidelines experienced and competent judges, breeding resentment and disillusionment. Second, or see, manipulating panel composition. The power to constitute panels must be exercised transparently and impartially. A Chief Justice who routinely assembles go-to panels comprising favored appointees can effectively predetermine case outcomes. Worse still, reshuffling panels or interfering after a case has been heard constitutes an egregious abuse of discretion that directly threatens the fairness of judicial proceedings. Another thing a Chief Justice we accusing him say and they say to Mr. San we say case no allegedly or say case cost setting way be a enye MPP for that ubon say Chief Justice na sesa judges our multi case ni so say sa de na Chief Justice no no to Mr. San judges a case so at any time sa nyama na wo ye no ade bi a entwa ye case bi ba or no Chief Justice no select omo nkonko tena case ni so nti onim say asomesi obenten enkrofo bi de omo de wo ye de nkra na omo be di asem na mame nti case bi ba na say ye hu ne say very political, very controversial as enkrofo na di omo tena so. 3. Issuing unconstitutional directives. The Constitution provides a clear framework for the enactment of judicial rules and procedures. A Chief Justice who disregards this framework and issues directive unilaterally erodes the rule of law from within the very institution sworn to uphold it. He's talking about the sins of the Chief Justice. What Tremu say, Chief Justice need to mean my order because Ghana constitution ama a framework ama kwine say procedure, judicial rules, any procedure be ewo hwa ewo say yedi so. Embre bi wo hwa ewo say yedi so. Now so sa Chief Justice we or disregard this framework no ankasa issue directives. Yenye ne sa. 4. Punitive transfers and case reassignments. Or say the strategic transfer of judges or reassignment of cases as a form of retribution for perceived disloyalty is a subtle but powerful way to chill judicial independence. Judges must not fear professional consequences for rendering decisions grounded in law and conscience. BBC. Oh, let me give you an example. When him say police for one of the reasons there ayana oppose for almost so mbeka say tia wo mpenyin for ana government or power ne say asemo e beka tell ne say hey me de me nkonko kasa o me kokasa ye be transfer me e de me akwa akoto ekra bi ase. So that has always been a way ye de threaten government workers. In fact, teachers for crasa. And I remember very well, I'm saying this, I remember very well when my mom was actively teaching. Na sa time no school ana me mama wo tra de na school bia na omu ni desk. Ono mu hia nyama, ati ase omu hia desk ene nyama bi na nkola na yusu. Inti de see ene say TV station, I think it was TV3. TV3 for ba ho ana omo eba be cover say school no ehia nyama bi say ehia nyama bi. Na that time the government in power no they weren't happy. Inti the DC of the area edi ebufuo eba me ma me mu school mu ho e no ba be threaten omo e ka tro omo say ade we ya mo aye e ma TV station aba be video say nkola ni dex ne nyama no ye be transfer mu ni na mu teachers amowo ha ni na ye be transfer mu teachers amowo ha ni na ye be transfer mu anche teachers no na afi yesi we nko ha me ma me kra omo ba be transfer no say omo person omo de ne baby just say oh sorry anopa the number of times anko be faka answer no obekọ baby e wo se woko no stress enya asem keto the number of times anko be faka anka every day obe stress just say no omo. But one thing about my mom, ono nsro bia obeka ne no kware atrel. See, I want to call office or control letter mom say, no, adi why ejuma but try there for close to 40 years for na brabum. Ya transfer ne from Volta region. No wabaha oba tema. Wa try there what tema baby. Just say most of the schools say what government schools say what tema. Wa try there what baby bia. I can't be 1 year, 2 years pay na wa call retirement. Ma san so aba be ka say mo transfer no e de na ko baby. E ba be stress ne keke. O si wenyin sa stress na mode ne ba be tumu ni na no aka kakra na sa time na aka kakra na we di 60 years o sa stress na mode me ba be tumu aka kakra na me di 60 years de mo pese mo ye mi den o kan ye at the end of the day later em so mo ankasa ba be hu se wo ade a omode ye no no enye nti omo jai transfer no e no mo ma ne ka be bia wo but omo anom wo school ni mu ho no most of them they were transferred nti ya ade bia e wo aban ejuma mu no enkrofo bebre na enim say esi ye be threaten sisi anti ye say chief justice no the current chief justice no apparently no ade a na esi no o ye judge na wo nim na wo kodi asem ni ehwe na asem no when dey it say ne ye bia na chief justice ne pa ye be transfer o de wakwa akoto udi agra ye de wo be ko boku boku antoko esi wo ho no ye de wo be ko ho e ba wehu eya asem keto inti that's that. I say undermining collegial governance. A chief justice who centralizes authority, sidelines judicial councils, or weakens peer review mechanisms corrodes the system of internal checks and balances designed to prevent abuses of judicial leadership. These are not mere procedural transgressions. They are constitutional breaches that strike at the heart of judicial independence. If these acts are allowed to go unpunished, they are not just tolerated, they are legitimized. Into Walker, Chief Justice no enyama wa yeni. Na nyama bi a yebeka so we de nipa kono wa yesa keke dabi. Eye bone as ye nim ne ehwe na sesa bone no ekoso etoa so a. Na tre say ya pene so ema the next person bi a wo bebe bia no obedi sa bone no. Te wo say Chief Justice na dia wa ye no. Ye ntwe na so. As the future Chief Justices will see them as red lines, but as precedents to be matched or exceeded. The erosion will become entrenched, and the judiciary's independence will degrade by precedents and practice. This is why we must be resolute. When those red lines are crossed, there must be consequences, swift, clear, and firm. So say, asa ye twa to ho. Se nipa kono ba be cross pe, yenye firm, niema ni hu ni se boni a we di de, eni kwan se ye pen also. I say removing a rogue Chief Justice does not compromise judicial independence. Rather, it protects the judiciary from internal capture, restores public confidence, and reinforces the rule of law. Once the MPP for Soria, almost says our Chief Justice here ni we are compromising judicial independence. Not just say action it here judicial independence. In fact, Afenyomakin spoke and said that. But I said that be Chief Justice here ni enye de no. Ye mpone say sisi ano ye strengthen the judiciary. Say next time in future no obi ba wo ma medi boni amami yedi. Or see the position of Chief Justice is not a fiefdom, and the judiciary is not a court of personal loyalty. A rogue Chief Justice is as dangerous as an overreaching president. Both must be confronted with equal resolve. We must be clear-eyed. Judicial independence is not just about resisting political interference. It is also about preventing the concentration of power within the judiciary itself. Only when the judiciary is free from both external pressure and internal manipulation can it truly serve as a bulwark of constitutional democracy. Our framers, in their wisdom, created a constitutional mechanism to hold powerful office holders, including the Chief Justice, electoral commissioners, and heads of independent commissions such as SHRAJ accountable. They entrusted this responsibility to citizens, empowering them to initiate petitions when they believe these officials have breached the public trust or violated their constitutional duties. This petition process is not reckless or arbitrary. It is anchored in due process with multiple safeguards to protect the rights of all parties involved. When a petition is filed, it triggers an elaborate, impartial process of inquiry and determination, not summary judgment. It is precisely this structured accountability that strengthens the legitimacy of constitutional offices and guards against abuse. In this light, calls for religious leaders, traditional authorities, or even courts to intervene in the petition process are not only misplaced, they risk perpetuating the very culture of backroom bargaining and elite impunity that often occasion the petition in the first place. To say MPP for aba or more air fret a friend saying a soft war mumbremu and a moment make be my Chief Justice no say na entwa to allow extra constitutional interference in such matters is to subvert the will of the framers and weaken the rule of law. True fidelity to the Constitution means allowing the process to run its course openly, lawfully, and without interference. And so that is coming from Professor Kwekwaza. Quite interesting. Montre mo adwo comment box ni mo medase.